I'd like to call our Thursday, September 7th, 2017 Forest Lake Area School Board meeting to order. Let's open up with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everybody. If you're new to a meeting, we have some information on the table over here you can take a look at that try to explain what we're trying to get done here. And also, if you'd like to come and speak during our scheduled and unscheduled visitors, just grab a green card and fill it out. Member Clerk, could you please take a roll call?
Member Corcoran? Here. Member Rayfield?
Here.
Member Olson is here. Member Peterson?
Here.
Member Moorhead?
Here.
Member Odegaard is absent, and Member Tyson is absent.
All right. We don't have any changes to the agenda. Scheduled and unscheduled visitors, listening session report. Member Olson?
Yes, we had 5 attendees tonight. We heard from Jake Matheson, one of our wonderful music teachers. He wanted to discuss his schedule this year. And we had Kate Luthner from Vote Yes give us a wonderful update on that committee.
All right. And then we have one green card tonight. Kate Luthner, would you like to come up?
I just wanted to introduce myself to the group. I've been asked to take on a leadership role in the Vote Yes committee, and I have been working with a fantastic team, 6-7 core people, and we're reaching out to anybody who says they will. We're going to kick off at the end of the month more officially with a big get some information out and get people rolling for a network of Vote Yes people. And then we're going to try and use a lot of social media because it keeps the cost down. It talks to the group that needs the most activation in the voting pools. Based on survey data, we had a lot of non-voters in the schools, and so those are people who should really support this, and we just need to get them educated and activated, and so that's pretty much the plan. So there's going to be phone calls and emails to you guys to help support us when we need to do meetings, mostly in the month of October. So by the time we're out there, people can start voting because there's a really generous early voting policy, and I'm going to call Election Day last chance voting. So hopefully we walk in there in a really strong situation and we can get this done for everybody. That's it. Good. Thanks.
All right.
Thanks, Kate.
Kate, I just have one question. We had a list of names last time. Is that something that's going to be helpful to you? Should we email that to you if we still have it?
Sure. I'll take everything.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Welcome.
I just want to thank you for the effort you're putting forward and what you're about to do. Having sat there before and done that work, I know what it takes, so I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Me too.
Okay. Can I leave now?
You're dismissed.
But wait.
Thank you. All right, student achievement, Forest Lake Elementary. Kenny Newby.
As we get this up and running here, I want to start out by just saying I want to thank everyone that has been part of the whole process of the planning and the construction and all the work that's been done at Forest Lake Elementary. It's a beautiful building right now, and I want to go on record and thank the staff, and especially the teachers, for all the extra time and hard work they put into getting ready for a school year that on a tight timeline. They are an awesome team. They work really hard to get ready for our students, and we're really proud of the final product, and we're really excited to have the community come join us on Wednesday, September 20th for our open house so that we can show off our great building to our community. So we're hoping we have a great turnout that night. So thanks again to everyone that helped that project. Tonight I wanted to share just a couple things that are going on at Forest Lake Elementary. And I'm going to start actually on this slide with the why. We are implementing a school-wide target time intervention block this year. And this is just some data to support some thinking behind why we want to have a change. And this target time that we are implementing school-wide this year is going to have a math focus. Although we have been seeing great growth within our growth, with the percentage of students meeting their growth target rates within the math tests that we have done the last years. In fact, last year we had a 9% increase, which was about double what our goal was set for our QCOM site goal. All those results are not necessarily showing up in our overall percent proficiency on the state test. So we know we're working really hard, and we know we are have some things in place, but we really wanted to even tighten up our focus to make a difference. As you may know, the last few years we've been working a lot with the alignment of our standards and identifying our priority standards. Last year was the full year of implementation of that work, and we felt like since we have that ball rolling, we want to just keep making steps in the right direction to address the needs that we have in the area of math. So back to this slide, I'm going to show you a short, about 5-minute video clip of a school that's actually in Arizona that has implemented and had great results from a similar intervention block. The teacher and I had both come across this last year, and we started discussions around this with the whole teaching staff of, is this something we would like to try to model this year? And the teachers were definitely in support of trying something different. And so I just want to show you, this video gives us great background of what this is going to look like in our school.
Most of us grew up with classic American education. You know, you go through a unit, whether it was math, social studies, or English, and at the end of the unit you had a test. Then you moved on to the next unit because you had to get through all the chapters by the end of the school year. And some kids would do well, some wouldn't. Some kids got good grades and some didn't.
In the past, we would just move on to the next chapter in the book. And sorry if you didn't get that. Maybe at the end of the year review, we'll try and touch on that. We wanted to get away from that practice. We made sure that we had a time in the day where if students did not master the skill that was previously taught, we gave them time to master that.
So these formatives are a way of assessing everything that you have learned about prime and composite numbers. So we're going to go ahead and get up our math offices. Put your first, last name on this test. Is this a test that you have to take really fast? No.
What we do is we teach an objective, and that objective is calendared out for us. And at the end of teaching that objective, we would give a formative assessment, which is usually on Friday. Objectives usually last about a week. And based on the results of that formative assessment, we know if students have mastered that concept or if they have not mastered that. Then what teachers do is they get together as a grade level and they look at their formatives and they look at what students mastered that formative and which didn't, and they divide students into the reteach group and into the enrich group.
And so how many reteaches are you looking at? I'm looking at 5. You're looking at 5 reteach, yeah. Crystal, do you have your number yet?
Yes, 9.
Matt, what were your numbers?
8.
One of the things that we found through our experience with Reteach and Enrich is that the teacher who had a very good turnout on that formative assessment, they did something right in that classroom. They did something right with their instruction on that objective.
Is it safe to say a composite number is a number that has more than 2 factors? Yes. Very good. All right, that's what we're going to write down.
So we felt that that teacher would be the most appropriate person to teach the Reteach group.
I think they just need a little more time on this is what it looks like.
Exactly.
Well, I'm open to doing reteach for prime and composite. What about what you've got planned, Matt? You had some enrichments planned, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I put 3 enriched programs together, 3 activities. I took what you had, and then I took what you had, and I took a sample on Marilyn Burns, and I just kind of read all 3 of them, and I redid them on my board, on one of the poster boards, and I wrote it in like a child-friendly version
of the divisibility rules?
Yeah, and I gave an example underneath each one.
All right, so are we all set? Everybody feel comfy?
Sounds good to me.
Cozy?
That following week, every day, Monday through Friday, from 12:30 to 1 o'clock, we have Reteach and Enrich going on school-wide. So the teachers that are teaching Reteach, they have that Reteach group and they stay with that group of students for that entire week. The enrichment students, they're split up and they would rotate between all of the other teachers in that grade level.
Today in Reteach, we're going to be going over prime and composite numbers.
I think Reteach is kind of nice because if you don't understand something, you won't go on until you understand it, so you won't be confused with anything else. And the teachers do help you. I realize that it's not really bad, it's just that you just need a little bit more help with it.
You guys did really well on your formative last week, and so today is your chance to do an enrichment portion. I really want to challenge you. I'm giving you that option. Do you want to do prime and composite 0 to 100? Or do you want to try prime and composite 0 to 200 using those digits? With a thumbs up, how many of you guys want to do 100 to 200. All right, I'm gonna go for the 200 too, and I'll help you out, and I'll help you out as well.
We knew that it worked because the very year that we took our AIMS or our standardized tests, our school became an excelling school. Our achievement is the highest in the state of Arizona, so that's something that we're very proud of.
When we hold students accountable for very specific standards, and we expect all of them to know that standard, then we hold ourselves accountable for getting that job done. And that is a very significant shift from simply saying, you know what, I made it all the way through the textbook.
Some things that we got really excited about is we felt like the work that we've done the last couple of years has really supported and kind of set us up for success implementing this program. We've done all the work of identifying what standards we want to teach in the sequence we want to teach them. We've done a lot of work with our PLC work and what PLCs are, should look like and what effective PLC work looks like, and we continue to build on that. We've noticed through some of our data that although our growth rate may have been rising, our overall, like I said, our overall achievement have been rising. So we felt that maybe the current practice that we were doing, we weren't meeting the needs of all students and enriching those students. So what we really liked about this program, as I showed in the video, is that we'll have a strong focus on those kids that need that reteach time, but we'll also have the half an hour every single day to enrich those students that have already mastered those skills so that we can not just keep them at that achievement level, but push them to the growth that they need to be growing as well. Only being in the third week of school, the teachers have put in a lot of work already. This definitely does take a lot of collaboration, a lot of planning time, and has really changed what our PLCs have really looked like, because teams have found that they need to meet more than just the regular times that we've had on the calendar, but they have found that it to be very effective work to meet on a weekly basis to identify these kids. So some of the things that we have in place, we didn't start this the first week just because we needed to get other routines in place, but we have the routines down of the kids practicing switching classes. The teachers are in practice now of identifying which standards they're going to focus on each week to identify the groups. And by next week, we should have pretty much fully implemented on the rotation and starting to identify kids. Minimal every week, maybe sometimes on a 2-week rotation of which kids need that reteach and enrich. And we're really hoping that we see positive results within our data on that. So we're really excited about that. Any questions about that?
I did have one about that. You just mentioned that 1 or 2 weeks. What happens with the reteach if you still, there's a child that just still struggles?
Yeah, well, we're hoping that, with given that extra week or two, that they will at least, increase their ability to meeting that standard. We will have additional supports outside of this time. So if kids qualify, for being in a title school, we will have some additional time that title teachers can work with kids throughout the day too, and some more pull services that will work with those more identified kids that are identified a smaller percentage. So we have those supports in place too.
Well, it's really good with the enrichment part because we're so lax on the children that need that enrichment staff-wise. So it's good that you're implementing that, I think. It's great.
And then one other thing before we're done here, I just wanted to share. I know the district's been having a big focus on how we can promote our schools and getting positive words out. I read a great book last year that was provided to me by Mr. Slater from Principal at Wyoming, and the book is called Your School Rocks, so tell people about it. And it was an awesome book just about small things you can do differently to get word out differently. And 2 things that I took away from that book was to really get involved in having a school Twitter account. So we have started doing that for Forest Lake Elementary and just tweeting out things that are positive things that are happening at our building, whether it's for teachers or for the students, and just to let anyone that's following see what's going on. And then also another thing that I took from that book is to get, we often all have a traditional newsletter, and we take time. It takes time to prepare those, and we send them out, whether it's through email or hard copy. And you never really know how many parents that reaches. So one of the ideas from the book that the author provided was to take that newsletter and turn it into a video newsletter and really get kids involved in that. And that's something that's really been fun that we started last year and are continuing to do that. So So each week we have our weekly newsletters, The Buzz, and that just shoots out information to parents about all the upcoming events and things that have been happening. But we've turned that into a video format, so the kids are the ones that get to share the news of the week. And we also take pictures of all the different activities and what's happening in the classroom and around the school throughout the week, and create about a 5-minute YouTube video each week. The kids are able to share the learning targets of the week by grade level and in their specials classes. And it's just a great way to get a following, and whether it's grandparents that live in another state or whatever, they just absolutely love seeing these things. So each week that is provided on our school website. So these are the different ways that we're getting the positive word out about us. So if on our Forest Lake Elementary website, and I can show you that quick. You'll all been to the website, but I'll show you. We link we have a YouTube channel, Forest Lake Elementary News, but then we also tweet that out. So you'll see over on our sidebar here, every video that you see here will be a video newsletter that we've done for the week, and the kids get really excited about that. Parents have had great feedback on that, and what's also fun is we can also track our YouTube account to see how many hits we're getting and how many views we're getting. So we average probably over 100 or about just over 100 views every week, which could be 100 different families, and so we know that many people are at least getting the news of the weekend. That's been really fun, so I wanted to share that with you guys.
Very nice. I got a quick question or a comment first. I just signed up to your Twitter feed. So
All right.
That looks quick. So one question I had, so when you're doing those interventions, have you given any thought to putting those into a video library that the kids can watch at a, let's say they're falling behind on something and there's a concept that where you tend to see over and over kids struggle a little bit with it, and they could maybe watch it at home or something? Have you given that any thought?
That is not something that we've pursued at this point, but that sounds like it could be a great opportunity. I know at the secondary level there's some of that happening, and that is something we could look at the elementary level. What we are excited about is with our new math curriculum, there's some online resources that really support the lessons that are being taught, and actually have a section right in there called, very similar to the Reteach and Enrich, and we just finally got all of our resources this week, so the teachers are really excited to dig into that, because we do feel like there is going to be some supports there that we didn't have with our old curriculum, for planning intervention groups, for supporting kids at home, supporting parents at home too that are helping their kids, but we're still digging into all that. So.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I'm just curious, I love the idea. I think it's a great way to keep the lower kids, keep them learning, and try to get them more even with the other kids. But I'll be curious to know as time goes on if those kids that have to have the reteach, if they're going to start getting smaller and smaller as trying to get used to the new format.
Sure.
It'd be nice to see data to see if that whole practice of the reteaching starts limiting with the kids, if they kind of get into that program, and maybe it'll start getting quicker for them.
Right.
Those same kids, if they're in the same reteach each week, or how that works.
Yeah, and if that happened, that would be awesome to have that type of data. And what also teachers are kind of excited about is we have in the past we've done some rotating of math groups that have been kind of more ability grouping, and there's a lot of research out there that shows that kids benefit from being in whole group instruction with a variety of levels, but that intervention time can really be broken down to instruct them at the level that they're at. And even though we've tried to do that with interventions in the past, when you have kind of groups that are ability grouped, especially in the area of math, depending on what strand you're working on, kids can definitely have strengths and weaknesses within the area of math. And so what's nice about this is that if a kid is struggling in a certain area, they're not stuck in that low class for a whole quarter or a whole semester, that it is weekly or bi-weekly, that they can, if it's just one concept they're struggling with, they can get that extra support, but then they can work their way right out of it for the next concept that they're focused on. So
it'll be interesting to see your data as time goes on. It's a great format. I think it's going to work well. Yeah.
All right. Great. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
All right. Assessment and teaching update. Dr. Komatsu and Director Georgie.
He always has such wonderful information. I walk out here and my brain's tired. Is there lots? Yeah, there is.
Thought I'd just do a very quick overview of what our spring 2017 FCA results look like, and to put it in a little bit of historical perspective. So here's math percentage of students who are scoring in the proficient range over the past 4 years. We're in a good period right now because the standards have not changed over these 4 years, and so the scores are directly comparable with one another. And you can see that we've had a little bit of up and down. The state, for reasons that are kind of unclear, has been on a slight downward slope. But I think that we will continue the work that we've been doing and hopefully move along with that. This is reading. Whereas with math, we were, an appreciable amount above the state's results. With reading, we are tracking the state almost exactly. And in both our case and the state's case, it's been pretty flat over the past 4 years. Here's where we see some pretty good news for the district. You'll see that our science scores took a tick up a couple years ago and have maintained that level. So you see the gap between our scores and the state's scores in general have widened. And I think that suggests we're doing something right with science and have continued to do so. So we've maintained that for a couple of years now. And really that's all I wanted to present you, so that just this really high-level view, but if you have any questions or have any particulars you want to ask about, address those.
I have a question. So when you look at a graph, let's say like the reading, how much does that vary from grade to grade, school to school?
Our school-to-school variability is not that great. To a certain extent, it tracks demographics. Some schools have a larger proportion of challenging students, and so you see a little less performance. From grade to grade, things are pretty interesting. I have here third grade, for example. Remember that in reading, the state and the district track one another really well. But here in third grade, we don't. So there's something going on there. This is fourth grade. The 16-17 results reflect that 15-16 results at third grade. Right? It's the same group of students. So it seems that this group of students does have something going on that we are taking a closer look at. But as you go through the different grades, you see that things do vary somewhat from the straight line. Part of that's just going to be because the group is smaller. There's going to be more variability from year to year. But no, there are some differences between grades, definitely.
What kind of, like, let's say you're looking at this graph, what kind of accuracy do you have? I mean, if you see like that first and second data point going up 5 points, is that, what kind of accuracy do you have with the number? I mean,
so you mean like how stable is it, or how?
If we see it go up 2 points, is there a chance that that's just fuzz, or is it a real? Clearly, there are kids that are,
That's why you want to track over a number of years, because 2 points, and then it also depends on the size of the group. So the state results, for example, 2 points would really tell you something. Because across the state, given that number of students that you're looking at, things aren't going to bounce around very much. So if there's a change that you see, it's a real change. Something's going on. With us, right, the number of students involved is much less. Having a few students who are really strong or a few students who have a lot of disadvantages can affect things, especially when we start breaking it down by grade or by school or something like that.
And since I'm not really understanding all but on these graphs, you see consistently that we're doing better on the state, and then all of a sudden, I wouldn't want the one to go out to the public that looks like everybody is just online with the state, when seriously we have many that are above. But it's just the ones that are below that drag it down.
Yeah, because the first graphs I showed you were all tested grades combined. So all the different variations that you see at the different grade levels.
But when I'm talking to folks out there in citizen land, you know, I would rather that they know these individual ones, and then it's good for us, I suppose, to know that it all gathers down in one with all the classes together. But to me, it just seems like we should really celebrate the ones that are above. And I'm glad you brought them, because I would have gone home thinking, wow, you know, no one's doing very well in that. But there
No, I think there are definitely areas where we can learn things. So what did the science people start doing a couple of years ago to give us that bump up that's been maintained? So that suggests it's not just fuzz. It keeps going like that. And it's not just a cohort effect. It's not just some unusual group of students who happen to do better. Whereas this one, 16, 17, there seemed to be a dip after this nice rise for a few years. But if you think about it, okay, these kids, the 16, 17 kids in 10th grade, 2 years ago were in 8th grade. And you see that those kids show this dip, which suggests that there may be something about that group of kids that's struggling somewhat. We follow them 2 years down the line, and we see the dip again. And what is heartening is to see that we start climbing again after that group of kids comes through. So the idea would be that next year, when we look at 10th grade, it ought to start coming up again, if it's because there's something about that group of kids.
lots of information. That's great, though.
I have a quick question. Do we try and tweak curriculum, looking at like the 3rd and 4th grade curriculum, or do we think it's just the batch of kids that will slowly
That's
rise?
actually what I was going to share, that what we do as we look at results is think from the perspective of teaching and learning, and what do we do as a system to try to help the students increase how they're achieving. And as you saw from the charts that Lloyd shared, especially our younger grades, our areas where we have some concerns, you heard Kenny earlier reference our standards alignment in math. So we started that work in K-6 2 years ago. Last year we started the work of aligning the ELA standards. So the new standards from the state came out in 2012, but just last year the teachers really had a chance to dig in, break apart the standards, figure out what are the learning targets the students are really working with, and come to an agreement by grade level about what are the key areas that those students need to be focusing on. This year now the teachers will really be digging into those standards and the learning targets that they've developed, and then think about how can they do those formative assessments to do those checks along the way and make sure that the students are learning what the information is that they need to be learning. So that work was our first step in trying to make sure that our literacy is stronger in K-6. And then the other piece that we are implementing this year, we had a cohort over the summer that spent 3 days together digging into a book called Reciprocal Teaching at Work. Reciprocal teaching is a strategy that's used for close reading. And close reading is that really intense, thoughtful reading, analyzing and understanding what it is that you're reading, knowing the vocabulary, understanding the concepts behind it, really having a deep understanding of it. Reciprocal teaching is just one strategy for being able to do that. And so we started with a cohort this summer. Everyone was really excited about it, felt like it was going to be really helpful to their efforts in literacy. So all of our elementary schools have taken this on as a book study this year. They are all studying the Reciprocal Teaching at Work book together, one chapter at a time this year, and implementing it in their buildings. And then we're asking the author of the book to come in January to work with the teachers and try to dig in with them about what it is they pulled from the book, what are the challenges they're still dealing with, what more questions do they have around it, trying to help really get that strategy to be a part of our classrooms. And what it looks like for students is it becomes interactive. So rather than me reading a passage of nonfiction by myself and then answering some questions, I'm meeting with a group and we're all helping to clarify vocabulary and think about what questions we have around it and how would we summarize what we had, what we were reading, and what kind of, how would we carry that forward to the next step, what inferences would we make. So it's a strategy that we're really excited about because it's interactive. The kids are in those mixed groups, so they are not leveled, and instead you have groups or students of all abilities learning from each other and working together much more independently, with the teacher being more of a facilitator and the students feeling like they are in charge of their learning.
Any other questions? I mean, my concern whenever I see data like this is that there's just a lot of data points, and those data points are students. And so that if we see an average where we're doing better, you know, we want to pat ourselves on the back because we have done a good job. But on the other hand, data like that, you know, well, I'm preaching to the choir, but it hides where we're falling behind through the kind of averaging it does. So,
sure.
And I know I've talked to you guys about that before, and I know you guys look at that data, but I want us to remember that these aren't lines, these are kids, and that, you know, that we have to fight hard to make sure that we don't take the averaging that these things do for granted. So,
absolutely.
And I guess I would take the moment to add that certainly when we look at the first three slides that Dr. Komatsu provided, that gives us a 20,000-foot view of things. But you're right, underneath all of that data are individual students. And the work that Lloyd has directed and guided our administrative staff, our teaching staff and buildings around looking into data, developing assessments that really get to know where kids are at, has been invaluable. And I would also say that the work that Diane and her team has done around standards alignment in our system has been remarkable work. It is the right work. We are focused on the right things in literacy and math and science. Staff are doing the right work around, if we know kids need to understand this, then let's get about teaching toward these priority standards with effective assessment pieces in place, so that when Kenny School and other schools are doing target time, they've got data on where kids are at today with the learning that I'm engaged in. What adjustments do I need to make on the fly? It's too late to make adjustments on MCA results in the spring going into next year. We make adjustments because of the common assessments, formative assessments, that teachers are doing on a daily basis, restructuring groups, targeting instruction, enriching instruction for those ready for enrichment, holding back for students that needed additional support. That's where the real learning takes place. And Diane and her team and Lloyd and his guidance with assessment deserve a lot of credit for the work going on throughout our system.
yeah, I think that work, you know, we've always at a board been very appreciative of that work, and I think it's really a point of pride for this district that we do that and look at it at that level. Well said.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to thank Lloyd because he's kind of the unsung hero. Oftentimes we don't get to visit with him or know exactly what he's doing there in his office, and yet when I'm out talking to the staff, they just can't stop telling me how important your work is for them. And so we appreciate that, even though we don't get to see you very often. So come more often.
Well said, Karen.
All right.
Great, thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
positive happenings. Jill, you want to start?
I can start. I attended the Lino tour. That was very interesting. There was a lot going on at the time. And then I went to the August teacher welcome, and we did a school board skit. And I just went to a JV girls volleyball and varsity volleyball game.
I, of course, had the pleasure of the teacher meeting for my youngest son at Wyoming. And, of course, both boys now back in school, which is fun for a couple of weeks. And also attended the varsity football game last Friday and the JV game, was that Monday? Monday. Yeah.
Okay, Member Moorhead?
Well, we have to remember the all-staff meeting and how fun it was to realize that the sky is not falling and that we do have a great leader in place so that everyone can relax. And I did go opening day to Scandia and to the bus garage. I'm so impressed with the bus garage and all the work that they do there, and they are so thankful to the community and to everyone who's been involved for their space. It's just way overdue for them. And then I did go down to Lino, but realizing it was the first day and it's such a confusion, I went into the office and was told it probably wouldn't be a good day to walk through, so I'm going to go back there. But I did find out a problem. Both the schools that I'm a liaison to have PTOs on Tuesday, the second Tuesday of the month. So I'm going to have to go every other one unless somebody wanted to change. But I mean, I think it'd be all right if I go to every other one maybe. What do you think? That's good. Wouldn't you know? They both have to have the Tuesday. But they do have calendars, and the schools you're in, you probably have gotten your calendar or your list of events, and I think that helps us a lot. We can't go to everything, but if we know what's happening, we can go to some things, and that's good. And I think that was pretty much it for this.
All right. Member Corcoran?
Okay, well, we had our first football game last Friday. It was a beautiful night. Not the best results, but I'm optimistic. First home game tomorrow night, 7 o'clock at the Ranger Field, playing Coon Rapids. So hopefully it'll be, it'll be a better result than last Friday. Also, I've been playing pickleball, new up-and-coming pickleball. Robin Larson is a little ringleader of mine to help me get into playing pickleball at Fenway Courts. They're absolutely beautiful. Every day between like 7 and 10, there's probably 40 people there. I mean, it's just crazy. You have to wait for a court. So I want to thank the city council working so hard with the people that they pushed it through. But I appreciate that they got those built because it was a vacant space with no use. So I know Community Ed has classes there. I saw right on the fence. Now they've actually had. You pay $15, you get a name tag, have like a little association. You get $15, you get a name tag, and you get to kind of be part of the association. They're gonna have like a little social in a couple weeks, and so I've been going up there, kind of working part-time, so I've been going up there on Tuesday mornings and getting to know all the staff, all the people there. It's just been really great. So hats off for that pickleball group. And yeah, and also I wanted to talk about positive happenings for the Community Ed department. It was in our information. Special Points of Interest, Community Education's Facebook page has 1,010 followers, which I think is amazing. For the past year, Facebook page has doubled in all followers, and they're going to have 16 new classes featured in the 2017 catalog and online. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. And for my positive happening, I just want to say how much I appreciate that some of the levy work is coming together, and the school district is working hard to get the information out to citizens about the levy and the bond, and our students are at a competitive disadvantage when we're cutting every year, and this levy is going to make the difference for years to come in this district, and really for our kids to be at a competitive disadvantage like that, that's not something we should stand by and let happen. And so I'm glad to see that we're moving forward and doing what we can to, get it before the public, because I think it's a really positive thing for this district. So that's my positive happening. All right, reports. 916, Member Tyson's not with us tonight. Equity Alliance, Member Moorhead.
We did send out, I hope to all the board members, the newsletter and introduce 2 new team members that we're adding to our team. And the joint powers agreement, I think I mentioned last time, was finally settled. And the new part of it will be that there are students that will be available or will be able to join the board on a non-voting process, so that'll be good. And there are openings yet for the Youth Executive Board and the upcoming fall programs that I think I printed out again to all the board members, but I did bring the information to Diane, and she's telling me that this gets to the right people so that the teachers know that there's some very good classes that they can take that EMID provides for them on the diversity question. And they're going to be meeting here in October. So I'm not sure, Steve, do you have the date when they're going to, well, it's the third Wednesday. So the EMID board will meet right here. They did that last year, so you get a chance to see the work of the board there, whoever can come. But it's an interesting time.
Aren't they going to get a little spoiled with these digs?
Oh, yeah.
With the new parking lot?
With new parking lot, these fancy tables.
Fancy desks.
I will have to tell them to be prepared. They could go meet via the bus garage. That was
Is it the 20th?
Wednesday, the 18th at 5:30.
Okay. And they're excited to come out, so we'll have to coordinate with food service to have a little kind of a snack for them. And I think that was it for them.
Okay, and then City of Forest Lake?
They're working right now with the budget and on the comprehensive plan. I don't know if anyone had an opportunity to take the survey to see what it was that you want to see in our city. They're open to suggestions, putting together the comprehensive plan. Also, if you saw the article, that we're also confirming that we still have all the board members living in the city and ready to do the work, because that's important. So I think that's about it. If anyone has any ideas, they're always open to hearing suggestions. And Steve, his name is not Steve, Sam is here all the time and is willing to take suggestions or hear what we have to say. So.
All right, thank you. Reshaping opportunities for success, Director Martini.
We could actually call this the on-budget, on-time report instead of the reshaping opportunities for
I
success
love
report.
it. I can still say that.
I wanted to piggyback briefly on your description, Board Member Moorhead, of the comprehensive plan, because you may not be aware, I sat on the task force along with one of our high school students. The folks that assisted in planning that survey. We'll meet one time again before the City Council is going to be considering some of these activities. But wow, what an articulate young woman that we had from the high school representing the student body or the population of kids from Forest Lake area schools. Very impressive gal.
Wonderful. She's very good.
Probably need to repeat this 3 times. So on budget, on time.
Yay.
And a big thank you goes to the folks that are assisting in the design work, in the stuff behind the scenes. It's really unique. With our early start this year, we had staff volunteering and assisting in other buildings. We had parents volunteering to make sure Columbus and Forest Lake and the high school were up and running. And we had parents of teachers actually in place. Mr. Brockman relayed a funny story to me the other day because he inquired of those parents, well, what grade are your kids in? The fact of the matter was the teacher was teaching a grade level, so amazing.
That's great.
We still have quite a bit of weekly meetings for Mike to attend. Next summer, as we look towards work at Scandia and Linwood Elementary, Thursday will fill out. We still have work being accomplished at the transportation building. That siding isn't on the facility yet. And of course, as you know, we've still got work underway at the high school and the 7-8 building. The design teams are very hard at work with Scandia and Linwood, and work continues at Lino, as you all know. We got the camera out to get a shot of this first lift of asphalt. We're really excited. We were able to focus the asphalt needs at all of the other locations before this, so while it's been kind of a struggle to park across the ditch and use our drawbridge moat 6x6 platform, we powered through it, and we're pretty pleased. And again, you know, that connects into the southern lot of the high school for students. Work continues on the left side in the gymnasium addition. They're going to be putting windows in those open spaces now, so that's really exciting. And if you haven't seen the cranes over at the Century site, they've moved from, this is the footing area for the gymnasium, but they've been putting structural steel in place in that classroom wing. They're about complete with the steel work there. And what you see here is the parent drop-off, and then we've got a bus lane only that goes to the north side of the facility back by the athletic fields, which we're really excited. It looks like Peterson Companies will be able to seed next week so that we don't miss a growing window this year. One of the things that did throw us off, as you were aware, we couldn't pound a well in, and so we're going to be tapping off of the hydrant at the north end of the building. So we'll have seed on the ground and irrigation in place. I don't think you've seen the shot of Forest Lake Elementary School's secure entrance. Off to the right is the exterior entrance. Those doors remain locked throughout the school day, and folks get buzzed into the office with that doorway that you see to the right. If they're cleared to gain access to the school, then they come through the door you see to your left, and then this hallway heads to the west. That's actually a gymnasium door that's open, the wooden door that you see there. So that gives you a little bit of perspective. Very much like the Forest View setup, it's similar in nature. I think the most exciting piece of information in this photo is extremely understated. This is a new window looking out at the parking lot right near that entrance. But below this window, there's no longer a unit ventilator. Recall those unit ventilators were ripped out in 1999, put in the parking lot, and reinstalled in 2000. We need to thank our voters and our public that approved this bond effort so that Forest Lake Elementary can now have its own HVAC system. It's amazing, and it's so exciting. We're working with Kenny's staff on getting window treatments there, window treatments at Columbus Elementary. And here is an example of a couple of the walls of a new classroom at Columbus Elementary. That's not the teaching wall, but it gives you a little more visual aspect of some of the casework and some of the colors that are involved with that school. This is actually the arts and science room looking to the south. Those windows then are adjacent to the media center, and the core of that building is just outstanding. If you get a chance to go there, it's really exciting. Lino Lakes Elementary, they're done with the steel. There's a few pieces left to be put in place, and they're actually decking some of the area that you see. It's kind of the shiny stuff in the middle. Here's another view of that same site. Busing for special ed goes down the right-hand side. The office trailer is actually down the right-hand side there at the north end of the facility by the gym. And I'm going to back up one. The bus lane for the parking lot that you can see here, but it's really difficult because there's the bus lane, then there's the construction fencing with all the laydown materials, and then there's the parking. So it's an interesting site to behold. Dr. Massey had to run down there as we're ironing out the kinks in busing. He's run down to Lino Lakes a few times to deal with parents and the late children, and it's interesting to watch when buses are down at Lino. It's quite a pinch.
Coming together.
Well, this is what we've done this summer. Again, on budget, on time, and we're adding square footage. We're excited about what's going to happen next year. We've got the field house completion yet to occur. Then we're going to be working through 9, 12, 7, 8 interior renovations being completed. Lino Lakes Phase 2 completed. Linwood and Scandia. as we look at both of those buildings, we're still not sure how much phasing will need to occur. We'll know very soon, but there may be some phasing that will push them into 19 or possibly push them into scenarios like vacating areas at spring break time. You know, a lot of our buildings with their age and condition have asbestos that isn't a problem unless it's disturbed, and construction would certainly disturb it. And so we'd want to remove that early and go in maybe like we did with Forest Lake Elementary and look at that over spring break. Looking forward to summer 19 and closing out these reshaping opportunities for success 2015-2020. With that, I'm always glad to show you pictures because that's exciting, and feel like I'm getting credit for all this work. I don't deserve that, but I can answer questions, or I'd certainly take comments because this is an exciting time for our school district.
So I'd just like to say one thing. It's impressive the amount of work that was done. A guy whose career's been in construction, to have the shortened summer and still have those crews pull off all that work in that amount of time is no small feat. And a lot of the unsung heroes are the guys who were sweating it out when it was 85, 90 inside those buildings with no ventilation because that was all tore out, and they're still in there working day in and day out. So let's not forget about those guys.
That's for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know I was in high school the Saturday before school, and people were working, and teachers had been setting up, and it was a very active site, and just so exciting to see it come together.
I know my son's been enjoying the science wing. He hangs out there during ranger hours, so he sure loves it. And some of those photos that they had on, just with all the students, you know, congregating in those areas, those new spaces.
Yeah.
It just looks amazing. So I'm so excited for them to have those opportunities. So it's gonna be great.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, Larry.
All right, superintendent's report, Dr. Massey.
Sure, thank you. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge and thank Andy for his report today, and Director Georgie and Dr. Komatsu for their, I think, really important information for you to hear and to see their work, and their leadership is definitely appreciated across the district. You know that while most districts are just starting, we're completing our third week of the school year. The Staff In-Service Week started with a heartfelt welcome by you, the school board, with none other than wherever she went, Chicken Little, and otherwise known as Member Moorhead. All of you were a real hit for the staff, and sincerely appreciated for your support and investment. That was very evident. Our keynote speaker, Mark Scherenbrock, did a marvelous job connecting with the staff through his stories and humor. He lifted the staff up and affirmed why, as educators, we do what we do. You missed my acknowledgement of Chicken Little.
Oh, he was out running
Thank
around
you
like
for
a
your,
head cut off.
your humor. Director Martini mentioned transportation and all of the crazy logistics that we worked through at the start of the year, and his staff and transportation have done an outstanding job getting our students to school and home at the end of the day. As you well know, this is a complex and challenging job, and the transportation staff do their job with great skill and poise. We're working with Forest Lake PD and the city to monitor the morning traffic and afternoon traffic between Century and the high school. It is extremely tight and busy and congested. We've made several adjustments to traffic plans, including the use of one of our liaison officers on a rotating basis to help direct traffic on Goodview in the morning, which has been extremely helpful. We're also directing student and parent drop-off to use our access road here off of 210 to take traffic off of Goodview, with this access road trying to funnel traffic into the south lot and into the regular lot through to this link has been a huge help. The school year is off to a great start. Teachers and classrooms are settling in with a renewed focus on PBIS, which is Positive Behavior Intervention Supports, as a way to establish routines and positive cultures in our schools and classrooms. And as you heard from Director Georgie, teachers and students are steep in the work of teaching and learning and working very hard. A quick update on enrollment. We started the school year with 6,235 students. This is down from 6,272 the previous year. This represents a slight decline of 37 students from the start of the last school year. Elementary enrollment is down 75 students. Junior high enrollment is down 9 students. And the high school is actually up 46 students. The ALC is about the same, up 2 students from this time last year. We continue to work very hard to market and promote our programs with an effort to retain and draw students to the district. There are many school options for families in our community, from homeschool options, online options, nearby school for open enrollment. All those things are competing for our enrollment. We're focused on making our schools the preferred choice, and we no doubt have a program to stand behind and one that speaks for itself when we get the word out there. I'm going to take just a minute and steal this opportunity to frame and walk through our levy bond as an update for all of us around the table as well as in the room. We know that on November 7th, the community will have the opportunity to vote on 2 school district referendum questions. Question 1 is a proposal to revoke our current levy of $462 a student and replace it with an 8-year operating levy of $1,212 per student per year. This represents a $750 increase per student and will generate approximately $4.9 million annually for the district. If approved, the referendum will cost $9.37 on a $100,000 home on a monthly basis. And you can multiply that on a linear basis on a $200,000 or $300,000 home. Our current operating referendum places the Forest Lakes Area School District near the bottom of the voter-approved operating levy list of nearby and metro schools. The last voter-approved operating referendum increase that we've had in this district was 11 years ago. Additionally, state per pupil funding over the last 20 years has not kept up with inflation. In fact, there's approximately a $2,100 gap between the inflationary figure, if the state kept up with inflation, and the current per pupil funding level. It's important to note that we have reduced our operating budget by $5.6 million just in the last 3 years, which is far more than what would be expected due to slight decline in enrollment. These reductions demonstrate our ability to live within our means, but over time we have spent down our reserves and dramatically reduced programs and services for students. Question 2 is a proposed bond referendum of $9 million to address facility needs in the areas of the arts and athletics. Specifically, the bond referendum will allow for improvements to music spaces, improvements to the high school auditorium, improvements and renovations to the athletic competition field for soccer, football, and lacrosse, renovation of the existing track that is currently unusable for high school track meets, and the addition of visitor bleachers at the high school. And lastly, improvements to the high school north tennis courts that are not usable for high school competition meets. If successful, this bond will cost 92 cents per month on a $250,000 home. This question is similar to question 2 on the 2015 referendum election that was defeated. But the $9 million represents a reduce in the scope of this project due to scaling back the projects that would be funded if successful. A common misunderstanding is how bond funds differ from operating referendum funds. The simplest way to explain this is bonds are for buildings and levies are for learning. The 2 funds cannot be used interchangeably. So the $143 million bond that we received successfully in 2015, those dollars, as Director Martini pointed out, are on time and on budget for the 4th time, we'll say tonight. And those funds cannot be used for any of our operating needs that we have in the district. It's a critical distinction that we need to understand and that we need to help the community understand as well. Our school district website will be updated by Monday, September 11th with information pertaining to these 2 referendum questions. Just to go back to our current referendum, it's noteworthy that the community has made a significant investment in 2015 by passing a $143 million bond for building repairs and additions to all buildings throughout our district. I'm happy to report that we are delivering on every promise we made in the election across the board. We will be celebrating the completion of significant work in 3 of our schools in the next several weeks, with community open houses scheduled at Forest Lake Elementary on September 20th, the high school celebration on September 27th, and Columbus Elementary on October 5th. All those events from 5 to 7 p.m. as an open house style. I will get those dates to you in my weekend communications. Last thing I would mention is you have Suburban East Conference passes at your station. Please use those and come to as many as events that you can. They're happening in a flurry right now and will happen at a steady pace throughout the school. And that completes my report.
All right, thank you. All right, do we have any items we'd like pulled from the consent agenda?
Yeah, I'd like to pull 7.5.
All right. Do you have a motion to approve 7.1 through 7.4?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? If there's no discussion, all in favor of 7.1 through 7.4, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, thank you. 7.5?
So I'm curious as to the driving factor or mitigating factors that the individual is pushing this request to have their property detached from the district, or if there are any other than personal preference.
I can certainly give you some background on that. The state allows residents to request that a school district boundary be redrawn in order to position a property into an adjacent or adjoining school district. In this case, Mr. Kissling, who resides on our district border that borders also with Mahtomedi School District, has completed the required annexation documentation requesting to have his property detached from the Forest Lake School District and become annexed by the Mahtomedi School District. While this doesn't happen often, it does happen from time to time. Granting this request does not lock the district into supporting or favoring other annexation requests. The fact of the matter is, as he's presented this case to the district, is he's got young children that he wants to send to Mahtomedi. Mahtomedi's open enrollment is currently closed, so it's a closer district to where he lives, and for other reasons that are personal to him, he would prefer to be in the Mahtomedi School District. By changing the boundary to be annexed into Mahtomedi, he would have access to the Mahtomedi schools.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve 7.5?
So moved.
A second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
It's just different. I've never heard of this before.
It's different. I don't know if we want to, I don't know, it just feels odd to change our boundary for him because,
yeah.
I mean, he knew what school district he moved into, or he should have.
Right, he should have.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree with Member Olson. If he was dead set on personally wanting to go to Mahtomedi, then he should have purchased property in the Mahtomedi School District. There are several factors that go into where your property is, including the value of that property based on some districts can significantly impact that, and us just redistricting because personal preference I don't think is a good move. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I would disagree. I think that this person knows his family and knows what's good for his family. And for us to for us, it's a minor inconvenience of just talking about it. For them, it's an important family issue, and he followed the correct procedure of the paperwork. And I mean, this happens all the time in our district. It just happens that in the effect that a family chooses to go to one place or another. But for this person, Matamidi is not a, Matamidi has a policy that makes it difficult for him to make a decision about where his children go to school. And it means he has to go to more work to make it happen by doing the paperwork. And so, so for me, I don't, it does seem weird because it seems like one redrawing district.
Yeah,
But on the other hand, it's not a big deal either. They do the paperwork, we approve it. It doesn't hurt us one way or another. Yeah, so that's fine.
My concern is looking at it on a map, say this is a new neighborhood, okay? I'm gonna move into this area and I see my district on a map and I go, well, how come that one house is not in the Forest Lake School District? Oh, I wanna do that too. And while Dr. Massey said it doesn't open up our commitment to other people, well, it kind of, in my mind, if we say yes to him, we've kind of set precedents.
Which director has worked on?
Director Martini has worked with this particular family.
Director Martini, could you talk a little bit about some of the rationale there? Give us some background.
I think Dr. Massey's explained Kissling's rationale very well. I've performed a couple of detachments in Spring Lake Park schools. I've never performed one here, so I was intrigued when we had received the request. Our boundary on the southern border is not a straight line. It is very jagged if you look at our boundary. We have no vested interest or recommendation as to whether you do or don't do this. And 18 months ago, Hopkins and Edina had a flare-up on a large detachment relative to neighborhoods. They most recently had another flare-up in the press. And so I understand the apprehensions. And I approached this with Kissling with the idea that if you don't want to be within our district, then I will process your paperwork, because I wouldn't, as a director, want to hold you hostage somewhere that you didn't want to be in. I told him I was not the decision maker, that it would come before the board. And even if you did approve this, Matamidi may not accept it. Interesting thoughts there. I can't imagine why Matamidi wouldn't accept added value in a small district. This loss of tax value in a large district doesn't move the needle. It is the fifth or sixth significant digit on tax rates, so this will not affect our tax rates. His property is $497,000 taxable market value in 2017. Your overall taxable market value is over $4.5 billion. So, as Dr. Massey mentioned, it doesn't register on the needle for financial impacts for us, whereas a residential neighborhood in whole could.
And I guess that would be a concern I have, because Matamidi is a very popular educational establishment, and it always amazes me because they passed a bond levy when they were in statutory operational debt. And, but they do, I can understand why it's closed. But I would be more concerned, as Jill said, that if a neighborhood is close and if one person can do it, it's difficult to say that for me.
Okay.
They could also take the children, I imagine, if they stay here and put them in a charter or homeschool or whatever else they want to do. It's not a mandatory thing that they're going to send the kids here.
I think people raise some good points. Any further discussion? All right. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
All right. The motion fails. All right. Agenda item 8, donations.
Okay, so I'll be reading the donations for Luke today. Okay, first one, $250 from Wyoming Elementary PTA to Wyoming Elementary for Parent Handbook Calendar, $643 from Knights of Columbus to Community Education Link Program, $250 from First State Bank of Wyoming to Wyoming Elementary for Parent Handbook Calendar. Let's see, these are the same. So $100 from Joe Zimmerman, $50 from Stephen Zimmerman to Forest Lake Area Schools Family Support for School Supplies. A printer from Forest View Elementary PTA to Forest View Elementary Publishing Room for art and writing projects, valid at $549.95. And these are all also for Wyoming Elementary for General Education. $161.55 from Diane Peterson of North Branch, $35 from Kathleen Harrell of Roseville, and $70 from Christopher Timmons from Lindstrom. And these are all. And then we have a flute donated from Patricia Anderson, Forest Lake to Forest View Elementary Band Program, valid at $45. Backpack school supplies from Fairview Employees Wyoming to Wyoming Elementary for Student Use, valued at $400. A recliner from Margie Stein of Scandia to Forest Lake High School for student need, valued at $100. And the rest of these items are, these people all donated for school supplies during the backpack drive, I believe. So $100 from Don and Gail Tyson of Forest Lake, $200 from Faith Lutheran Church of Forest Lake, $500 from Faith Lutheran, another $500 from Forest Lake Lions, and $418.40 from Hosanna Lutheran. These are all for school supplies. And that is it.
All right.
Move for approval.
All right, do we have a second? Any discussion? Yeah, thank you, everybody. And we always appreciate the community support that we get, and we don't take it for granted either. We know that a lot of times that's through fundraising, and that's a lot of work and organization, and as parents, we've all been through it, and so we do appreciate it. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Old business, 9-1, proposed 2017-2018 school board meeting dates.
So you have the meeting dates in front of you, and the calendar for the 17-18 year, September through June, follows the typical schedule of first and third Thursdays, with the first Thursday being the regular meeting, third Thursday being the special meeting, committees, of course, being on that third Thursday. There are a number of 4 different dates that I'm proposing that we change due to various events that compete with those dates. So I'll walk you through what those are. October 19th is scheduled currently as a board meeting. I suggest we move that to October 12th due to MEA break. The February 15th date, I suggest we move to February 8th, only because that's the American Association of School Administrators National Conference. In the event that I end up attending that conference, I would not be available on February 15th. March 15th date moved to March 8th due to spring break. Spring break actually is a week later this year due to the special calendar that we're on with our early start. And the July 3rd meeting gets moved to June 28th due to July 4th.
All right. Do we have a motion to accept the proposed 2017-2018 school board meeting dates?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? I would just say thank you. Anybody who works on a calendar has my eternal gratitude, because it's not easy work. So
that one's pretty straightforward.
Any further discussion? There's no further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, thank you. 9-2, approve tax levy calendar.
So 9-2 was new business. Last time you heard Dr. Martini talk about the approval of the tax calendar process. MDE requires that school districts must certify the proposed property tax to the county by September 30th. The September 21st school board meeting, we have identified as the date that we will use to certify the maximum proposed property tax levy for the district, so that'll be an item during that meeting. We must hold a property tax hearing between the dates of November 24th and December 29th. And we're proposing that that meeting be the Truth in Taxation hearing be set for 6 p.m. on December 7th prior to the regular school board meeting, and that would be in lieu of the listening session.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve the tax levy calendar?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? If there's no discussion, Member Clerk, please take a roll call.
Member Olson votes aye. Member Peterson?
Aye.
Member Moorhead?
Aye.
Member Corcoran?
Aye.
And Member Rayfield?
Aye. Right, motion's approved. At 10, new business. First reading of the approved agreement with Balance Point Strategy, SBC, to conduct an annual review of the district's health plan.
So the background information on that is Balance Point Strategy is a firm that I'm proposing we bring on board to complete a quantitative and qualitative review of our district's healthcare plan that we provide for employees throughout the district, with the goal of improving the efficiency and quality of the program. This item is before you because of the potential conflict of interest given Director Martini's involvement with the company as a one-third owner of the company. Director Martini, as I indicated, is a one-third owner, and to avoid any potential conflict, Larry would not be involved in the actual review of our healthcare plan. And the proposed cost of $2,667 represents a one-third reduction in the cost in order to remove any financial benefit that Director Martini would receive in this process. I think there's an opportunity for a relatively low cost to gain valuable information about our current healthcare program from a qualitative standpoint in terms of what it costs us, the products and services we're able to deliver. This plan would call for a comparison with 6 similar and like districts, so we get a comparison through this process. It would also involve direct conversations with benefactors of our healthcare plan to gain their insights on as to how the plan works for them.
Right. So this is a first reading, and if we have questions, who would we talk to on this one?
You can certainly, Director Martini would certainly be able to answer specific questions as well.
All right. All right, review the upcoming calendar dates, and again, I want to thank you for doing the Google Calendar to help us with that. And do you have a motion to adjourn?
Just a minute, because
I'm sorry.
On another date, I just wanted to mention before we adjourn that the Rotary is going to be having a turkey trot on Thanksgiving Day to benefit Rangers, helping Rangers, and the backpack program.
What's a turkey trot?
A turkey trot is, I guess,
To run.
the chicken's not going to be involved. The chicken is not going to be there. Unless they give me more feathers. But anyway, it's a 5K and I think maybe a 2K. Anyway, it's set up early Thanksgiving morning so that the family can get a lot of exercise and run off the turkey and stuff they're going to eat later. But it's just an appreciation on Thanksgiving Day of helping others. So the Rotary is going to try it as a first time, and I just wanted
So
to...
it's a human race.
It's a human race. I don't know why they call it trot.
Race turkeys.
Oh, I didn't know.
Some of us are little.
What do you got there, Karen?
Well, this is just something that at Rotary we had a little contest because a person spoke there and she gave these out, and I just thought it was kind of nice. It says 10 things that require 0 talent: being on time, work ethic, effort, body language, energy, attitude, passion, being coachable, doing extra, and being prepared. I think they should say it requires 0 money, because our district does all this on a very limited budget. So I'm going to just present this to see if he can put it wherever he wants, but they thought that somewhere in the school it would be good.
Excellent.
So I'll pass that on to Steve.
And Steve, could you mention the TEPLA event coming up?
Absolutely. September 14th, 5:30 to 8 is the Growing TEPLA event at Waldock Farms. It's noteworthy to mention because of their incredible efforts to raise funds that in return fund educational efforts throughout our district as well as other schools in our community.
And it's
Important.
fun.
And it's a lot of fun.
Very, very fun event, and it's good for getting together and chatting and having good food and a little bit of drink and winning prizes. And But on the bottom line, you're absolutely right, helping the community and the staff and the kids in this district that get
And
extra
that's how they
things.
get their money for scholarships. It's a big
Their
event.
scholarships is different.
Well, I know. but
TEFLA
it's-
is just grants, so.
Oh, I mean
that-
grants.
Grants,
That's what I
yep.
meant, yes.
So they've done some marvelous things for our district, and that'll all be talked about at the deal, so thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah, that's a great event.
Yeah, last year they raised a ton of money to implement a program up at Lino where they worked with their woods. Yep, and using trail cameras, and it was just a great program.
Yeah, it's funded Arts and Residence at Forest Lake Elementary and the school forest at Linwood the last couple of years, so
Yeah.
great
Math
initiative.
things- Math things at the high school that were pretty
That's
impressive.
right.
Good
so-
teachers ask for grants, yeah, it's a good deal.
All right.
Get a free glass.
Oh, yeah. They do, I know.
A wine glass.
I
All
read.
right, and with that, we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second?
Any discussion? If there's no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
We'll make it in 1 hour, right?